Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings. Great deal going on. Throw down $5 on these tournament games coming up, and you get $200 in free plays if that team wins and you're a new customer. All right. Joined by the one-stop shop for everything that is Arizona women's basketball, PJ Brown. Hello, PJ. How are you?
Hi, Mike. It's great to be here. I love the A.
Oh, I absolutely love the A. You know what? We're back in the A right here, or the A is actually back in me. That's the way that I look at it. But, PJ, you and I were talking a little bit offline here, and I want to kind of share a little bit of what we were talking about and basically what I was throwing out there. Everybody, Arizona women's basketball is at a level that we have never seen before. And I think people need to take a little bit of a step back right there and be able to look at what has happened here. You're on a team that is in the top 25 all season. You lost the best player in the country last year. And I hear some of the negative, gloom and doom. And it's like, hello, you're not going to compete. You're not going to win a title every single season. But this team is squarely in the top 25, the top 15. I think people need to understand and take a little bit of a step back here and realize what we still have here.
Absolutely. Let's step back and look at this. We were talking to the North Carolina coach this weekend, and she said that, it's hard in March because when you lose, it seems bigger than life, right? Because it's the NCAA tournament and everything. And you sort of forget that all the way along, you had this really good season and you got here. And that's what we have to remember. Arizona had a really good season. Somebody asked me to sort of rate it, give it a grade, and I would say a B or a B plus. And, that's a really fantastic season for them. Right. They're still this new team, this new up-and-coming program. I mean, they're here, but they haven't been here forever, right? Like you said. And it's only been the last few years that Arizona has seen postseason play, starting with the WNIT when they ran through that and won the championship. The next year, they were poised to host for the NCAAs, and COVID hit. Right. And then last year, they make that incredible run. So this is all still new. And it's not like this, we're not the UConns of the world, or the Tennessees, or the Stanfords, or South Carolinas. Arizona hasn't really been here. And this is also why probably they sort of had an uncharacteristic, not a great end to their season. So everyone is used to Adia Barnes having her team primed to peak at the end of the season and ready for this March run, because that's what they have done. But for the first time last year, they went to the NCAA tournament championship game. They played on April 3rd. Right. Adia Barnes gives her team a couple months off before they have to come back for developmental training in the summer. But we know that Maddie Connor was back in the gym like the very next day. Sam Thomas was back in the gym the next day. Lauren Ware was working with her dad right away. Kate was back working. All these players, Bendu Yaney was working. All these players just kept working on their game. And then you come along and all of a sudden it's February, and that's a long, long time. Now, granted, other schools are used to this. Stanford plays to the Final Four like most years. UConn does that. but this is the very first time for Arizona to do this. And to me, I think that, along with some of the injuries that they had, it was just hard for them. And not to use that as an excuse, but that's what I think happened. I think that they couldn't get back to all of them performing at the same time or close to the same time at the level that they have been doing just a few weeks before.
And I think a lot of people also, when you look at the tiers of women's college basketball, like you said, it's you've got the UConn, you've got the Stanford, you've got the South Carolina. Arizona's not quite there, but Arizona's in that second tier already. And so when you look at it, you lose the best player in school history in Ari McDonald, and you're still in the top 25 all season. And I think a lot of people don't get it, where they just say, okay, well, just replay, just have each person score 3 more points per game and it'll make up for it. PJ, you cover this team. You're there every day. That's not how it works. That's not how basketball works. You can't just tell, all right, Sam, you scored 3 more. Kate, you scored 3 more. Oh, by the way, we can't have any injuries in the process as well. So again, not everything is going to click the year after you lose a player of that impact.
Yeah, and everybody forgets that Ari McDonald was a once-in-a-generation player. Adia Barnes may never recruit another Ari McDonald. I doubt it. I really doubt it. It doesn't mean that she's not recruiting great players, because she is. I mean, we'll talk about the class that's coming in. Mm-hmm. But this is just, this is how it goes. And it doesn't happen every year. You're not in that championship game like those top teams. They've been doing it forever.
Right.
Where Arizona's the newbie, right? And it's going to take a while for them to get in the groove, to understand how to do these things. But when you look back at their season, they were ranked number 5 for I think the first time ever. They were in the top 10 for 13 weeks, top 20 or 25 for the entire season. I mean, that's incredible. You have Shayna Pellington, 2 game winners against Louisville and not Louisville. They won Louisville, but in overtime. That was a Ben Duyaney special for that one. But Shayna won that Vanderbilt game at the end, and she also she came up with a big shot against Oregon State. You have great performances throughout the season from Kate Reese and Sam Thomas and Ben Duyaney and Lauren Ware and others. And it's quick. It's easy when you lose a game at the end, and it's probably the game that you didn't that was, let's face it, it was probably not your best game of the entire season, right? And that is hard. So you're left with but you forget that they did all these great things. It was a really, really good season for Arizona. And it was kind of this tweener season, right?
Right. That's a great way of putting it.
And I steal that from Greg Hansen that was in his column. I thought that was great. It was between, Ari leaves and Trinity. We never talk about Trinity.
Right.
Trinity was huge for this team last year. They didn't have Trinity, they wouldn't have taken that run either. So, but next year they come in, they're going to have 4 really great recruits. Maya Naji is she's going to be a rock star. Before we get into
that, I just wanted to, because we're going to talk a ton of recruiting here. Just PJ, and by the way, and I was bad at doing this at the beginning. PJ, tell everybody first where they can find all your stuff, because like I said, you are the one-stop shop for women, or for U of A basketball in this town.
Sure, I write for the Arizona Daily Star, and you can download the free Wildcaster app and see all the stories. It's free. I got to say that. All my stories are on there. Plus, for the NCAA tournament, we had great coverage from Ryan Finley, who's our sports editor, and Caitlin Schmidt, who's who does a little bit of everything for the paper. And she's an investigative reporter, a solutions reporter, and she also helps out in sports, which is awesome. And Alec White pitched in on the last game as well as Greg Hansen did. So we had a lot of really great.
You had all the stars out for that game.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'm at PJ Brown 09 on Twitter, so you can find all my stuff there. The other thing I want to say about this season is that, sometimes we're also quick to forget that Adia Barnes is one of the best coaches in the country.
Thank you.
She's the best, one of the best at developing her players. People forget that Ari McDonald wasn't Ari McDonald when she walked in the door here. That was a lot of her own work, plus working with Adia Barnes and Salvo Copa, that really brought Ari out of her shell and allowed her to become who she became. And there's so many other players that she's developed like that. And people see that across the country. She is also one of the top coaches that whenever at this time of year, when there are openings, they always mention Adia Barnes.
There's a reason for that.
Everybody does. And so, and no, she's not going anywhere. Don't worry. She's staying right here. I talked to her the other day. She said she's staying here.
Right.
So no worries on that. But she's one of the first ones who's always talked about in those circles, which means people recognize what she's doing here. Mm-hmm. And she's also in the pool of Team USA women's basketball coaches. So last year she helped Dawn Staley in the AmeriCup event, which they won. They won a gold medal. And this year now she's going to be a court coach, which means when they have camp for Team USA, the Sue Birds of the world, Adia's going to be right there coaching her. A former teammate of hers, she's going to be coaching. So
for sure. Now, before we get to some recruiting here, what are you going to remember most about a Sam Thomas? Where to start, right?
Yeah, where to start with Sam. So I think I always start with, I remember her freshman year, and she was always the one they brought back to talk to us. And if anybody remembers her freshman year, they only won 6 games.
Right.
And Sam would come back, and she would smile, and she would giggle, and she would answer our questions just like a pro. And if anybody knows Sam and has watched her through her 5 years, that smile is still there, and that little giggle is still there. Yeah. And so that's the first thing. And the other thing I'll remember is her defense. She's one of the best defenders in the country. I always say that. There's nobody that I've seen who consistently goes out every game and shuts down her opponent.
Right.
In so many different ways, whether it's just getting up in their grill and not giving them any space to do anything, narrowing the passing lanes, forcing errant passes, blocking shots, tipping shots, getting steals. I mean, you name it, Sam Thomas does it on defense. And she was just a remarkable player to cover and a remarkable person to get to know.
Okay, real quick, let me tell you about the DraftKings Sportsbook app here. They pay my bills, code word PHNX. Here's the deal. You throw down $5 on a game, you get $200 in free plays if that team wins. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. This is the time. NCAA tournaments right here. All kinds of good stuff going on. Arizona plays tomorrow. So hop in on that one. Again, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. And all right, PJ, let's talk now about next year's roster. Sure. Because you talked about, you got some young players on the roster that performed well, and you've got a monster recruiting class. So what is PJ Brown looking for from next year's team? What are some of the interesting storylines?
Well, I think you have to start with Maya Nagy. She, like I was saying, she's going to be a rock star. She is a rock star already, on and off the court. I think I've shared with you before that she she gives food to the homeless.
Yeah.
She does all these incredible things. She's just a wonderful person. And to bring that into this community is going to be very special. And on the court, she's just a phenomenal player. So you start with her, then you have a Paris Clark, who's a guard, and
kind of overlooked in this entire situation, but very well thought of in her own right.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story with Paris because she was verbally committed to UCLA, and she thought she was going there, and then they most of their class turned out to be guards.
Right.
And she verbally uncommitted and decided to come to Arizona. And she'll be officially signing in April, so in a few weeks. So that's why you haven't heard Adia Barnes talk about her yet, because she can't talk about anybody who hasn't signed.
Right.
But she will be there. And then you have Kaylin Gilbert, who's a bucket. She can score all over the place. She's a guard, and she's just incredible. And then you have Lamaya Hilton, who's from Canada, another Canadian, and she's a great guard as well. So it's a top 10 recruiting class, the best recruiting class in Arizona women's basketball history. So expect a lot. And first off, I don't know. I can't say what Adia Barnes is going to do, but don't be surprised if Maya's starting, and don't be surprised if one of those guards is starting.
Don't be surprised. It could happen.
It could happen, and it's just that they are that good. Maya and Paris are McDonald's All-Americans, and they'll be playing in that game coming up soon. And they're both also part of the Jordan Brand Classic.
Right.
You're
talking the elite of the elite here. These are big-time recruits.
Absolutely. So, it's like, Kate Reese, when she came in, she was a 5-star. She was a McDonald's All-American. And she started
worked out okay.
So absolutely. Kate will be coming back. She's having surgery any day now. I'm not quite sure when, but she is on her dislocated shoulder. She had a significant soft tissue tear, and it'll be about 6 months of rehab for her, but she will be ready to play next season. And if this year is any indication, expect Kate to be just as good, if not better. I mean, she was an honorable
mention. It's got All-American potential, let's be honest.
Right. She was an honorable mention for All-American, and I believe that she probably can there's a possibility she could make the All-American teams next year, especially if she shows the same progress that she showed this year. And I think she's capable of doing that.
No doubt. Okay, PJ, again, you are the absolute best. I mean that very much. Always appreciate you coming on. Again, tell everybody where you can find you. PJ's a modest person, but you need to follow her on Twitter right there because, again, I kid you not, from recruiting to roster breakdowns to in-depth profiles, PJ Brown is where it's at when it comes to Arizona women's basketball. So, again, PJ, where can they find you?
Thanks, Mike. You can download the free Wildcaster app and get all my stories there. And I must say that it's just not my stories. Every Arizona team that we cover, everything's in there. From now, when you want to follow the men's basketball team, you've got Bruce Pasco writing.
A legend.
He's a legend. Bruce. He is one of the best beat reporters ever. So
not only that, PJ, I'm going to start to interrupt you just for a moment. Bruce Pasco is one of the best people you will ever meet. I was, give you an idea. I was going through, before I switched over to PHNX, I was going through some difficult times, and Bruce knew it. Bruce also knew that I'm a junkie for old school U of A basketball stuff. Bruce just texted me and he said, Mike, can you give me your address? So, I'll pick that up later. But this is when Bruce was covering the UNLV Running Rebels back when he was like 23 or 24 years old. You got Sean Elliott on there. And Bruce sent this to me just out of the blue, and he just said, things will look up. Again, sorry, I just have a very soft spot in my heart for Bruce, but proceed.
That's okay. He's great. He's a great guy. And I'm fortunate to call him a colleague. I wish that we sort of overlapped and got to see each other more, but his season runs when my season runs. So it's kind of tough.
You're both grinding at the same time for sure.
We are, definitely. But you can catch everything Michael Left's doing baseball right now in spring football, and you don't want to miss Michael. So you've got that. We've got softball coming up. I'll be covering softball.
I was going to say, who's covering softball?
That's me. I'm back on softball, and not this weekend, but next weekend I'll be back. And still got to rest up, and believe me, there's still more women's basketball stuff to come this off season. So don't think it's over. I'll have you covered on that. And again, download the free Wildcaster app to catch all of that, and follow me on Twitter at PJBrown09.
PJ, again, I can't thank you enough, and we're going to have you on throughout the offseason. You're, like I said, you're who I go to be able to find out what's going on. You're the best. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike. Love to be here.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. That's PJ Brown from Arizona Daily Star. All right. Now, a lot of people are asking me, and you know what? There's not much that's cool about me, but I'm about to tell you something that's cool about me. Well, it's not really cool about me, but this neon light behind me right here, this thing right here is going to change my life and actually make me appear cool. And again, this was given to me by Saturday Neon. All right. That's the name of the company right here. And so I really want to thank everybody at Saturday Neon, because this is absolutely fantastic. And here's what they do. They design and manufacture officially licensed collegiate LED neon signs, stuff like this. Not a lot of people have seen this. I've had a lot of people that have asked me about it. That's where you get it. Saturday Neon. It's easy to mount. I mounted it. Well, I'll be honest, with the help of my dad, but if I wasn't an idiot, I would have been able to mount it myself. It's that simple. And again, it includes all the necessary shipping. Plus they have free shipping. It doesn't get much better than that. So again, you go to SaturdayNeon.com, use code PHNX for 10% off your purchase. That's PHNX for 10% off your purchase. Saturday Neon, your school now in neon. And again, this thing will be a staple of the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm very happy with this. And you know what? The good folks at Max, I got to give you a lot of credit. Saturday Neon, everybody at PHNX, again, very happy with this entire thing right here. All right. You know what else I'm very happy about too is the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Code word PHNX. All right. You throw down $5 on these tournament games coming up, and you get $200 in free plays if the team you bet on wins. Now, the team's got to win, and you've got to be a new customer. But it's really that easy. You can get $200, and then who knows what you turn that into. You can turn it into a lot of different things. So again, DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. Saturday Neon, again, thank you. Can't thank you enough. Got a big article coming up here shortly on Ben Matherin. I'm going to be signing off here. But for everybody that hopped in here, got a lot of cool light comments. I appreciate you. PJ Brown is the best. We're going to be having her on all throughout the offseason, keeping you up to date on Adia Barnes' crew and everything that goes with that. But for PJ Brown, I'm Mike Luke. Again, KB Thiel, Jose, LA Shadow, Chad McDonald's, PHNX giving me a pat on the back. Appreciate you all. We'll be back with you tomorrow, post-game show, hopefully talking about Arizona basketball marching on to the Elite Eight.